All right, welcome. This is 1.2 decimals and rounding for modern math at Westlake. Okay, we're going to be talking a lot about decimals and rounding, but first we should start with what is a decimal, okay? So we've learned before about fractions, okay? A decimal is another way to be able to write a fraction. So for example, 1/10, that is a fraction. We can also rewrite it as a decimal. 0.1, that would be a decimal. We can also write that numerically. So you could say 1/10. Okay? All right, here's a little figure you can look at if you need to remember what is tenths, what is tenths or thousandths. Okay, here's where our tens are, so make sure you don't confuse tens and tenths. Okay, if it ends with TH, S, then we're talking about decimals, and if it's not, then it would be whole numbers. Okay, so here we go. Let's do some rounding. When rounding, it's important to know decimal place values, okay? So we want to start with we want to identify the place value we want to round to. So for example, let's just look at this example here. Here's tenths. So here would be our tenths. Our tenths value would be 4. Okay. Next we look right, the number right of it, which here is 9. And if that value next to that number is greater or equal to 5, then we round up. So in this situation, we'd round up. So we'd write 3,225.5. Okay? So let's look at the 10 place, which would be right here. We look to the right. It's 5 or larger, so we round up. Okay? Next, we have whole numbers. Whole numbers is the same as the ones place. So this is our ones place, our first whole number. We look to the right, and we see that it's less than 5, so we round down. Okay? Thousandths. Thousandths would be, this would be our tens, our tenths, hundredths, thousandths. Look to the right, it's less than 5, so we leave the 6 alone. Okay? Hundredths is the 9. We look to the right. 6 is greater than 5, so we round up. Okay, so we'd round the 9 up. So that would give us 10. Okay, a 10. So we would add that together and get 5 there. So that gives us 3225.5. Okay, because you can't really, you can round up from 9, but that gives you 10. So we have our 10, our 1 in our 10 goes towards our tenths place, if that makes sense. Okay? All right. Next we do thousand. So not 1,000 would be here, 3,000. Look to the right, it's less than 5, so it would just be 3,000. Okay, we rounded to the 1,000. All right, here's another example. The current population of humans on Earth is 7,635,865,499. What is the population to the nearest million? Okay, so million value would be right here. Look to the right, it's greater than 5, so we'd write 7, 6, 3, round that to 6, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, round to the billion. Our billion is right here. Look to the right, and that would give us, since it's greater than 5, we would increase our 7 to 8. So it'd be 800,000,000,000,000. We'd have round, we get 8 billion. Okay, example 3, a drink contains 16.35 liters of fluid. Round to the nearest liter. Okay, so our nearest liter would be the 6. Look to the right, that's 3, which is less than 5, so we'd round down. We'd get 16. Example 4, on average, there is 24.2 people signed up to take the ACT. How many desks should they provide? Justify your answer. Okay, so you could justify either way you'd want. I would probably err to be more safe. Okay, so I would probably round to, because you can't have a 2/10 of a desk. So I'd probably round up. Even though that 2 is less than 5, I'd probably round up to 30 or 25 desks. But you could say, well, 0.25 or 0.2 is less than 5, so you could round down to 24. You could even say, well, if the average is 32 or 24.2, sorry, it's the end of the day. You could just say, well, I don't know how many people are actually going to be there, so I could say, well, I want 30 desks, because who knows? There could be a lot of people, and you don't want to have them run out of desks. Okay, so you'd want to justify your reasoning. All right, addition and subtraction with decimals. Always line up your decimal points before adding or subtracting. Okay, so for example, we want to look at A. If you wanted to add 3.8, and you wanted to add that to 4.42, if you did it like this, 4.2 or 42, then your decimals wouldn't be aligned. And you need to make sure you have it aligned, or you wouldn't be adding correctly. So here we have 4.42. And you may say, well, above, we want to add here. What do we add to? 2. Okay, well, you can always put an extra 0 to save a place. So that would give us 2. Here we have 4 plus 8 is 12. So we carry the 1 to the top. And then 3 plus 4 plus 1 gives us 8. And then we bring that decimal straight down. Okay? I'd like you to be able to do that by hand, but I'm going to allow you to use it on your calculator if you would like. Okay? I think it's more important that you're able to get the right answer and then figure out how to round. So here it says round your answer to the nearest whole number. So our whole number is the 8. Look to the right. The 2 is less than 5, so we would round down to 8. Okay? Here's a 3-number problem. So we could write down 1.28, 0.27, and 3.002. Okay, again, if we don't have as many numbers for some of the others, we can always throw zeros in there to make sure that we can add them all together. So here we'd get 2, here we'd get 15, here we'd get 5, have our decimal, and then 4. Okay, again, you could just put that in your calculator like when we do the test or on your homework. All right, and then it says round to the nearest hundredths. So here's tenths, here's hundredths. Look to the right, it's less than 5, so we'll round down, 4.55. Okay, I have another one, 14.74. Subtract 0.4281. So again, we would want to have those zeros. And then especially like this is a little complicated, I would just use your calculator, okay? So, but you're going to need to borrow a number, okay? So here you need to borrow here to make that be a 10, and you need to borrow here to give this a 10. So when you do 10 minus 1 gives you 9. 9 minus 8 gives you 1. Here we have, I think we left this as a 3, yeah. 3 minus 2 gives you 1. 7 minus 4 gives you 3. And then 4 minus 0 is 4. And 1 minus 0 is 1. Okay? Round to the thousandths. So here's the thousandths. Since 9 is greater than 5, we would round up to 2. So 14.312. Okay? And then these ones, for these I'm just going to do it on my calculator so you can kind of see how this works. You can't see it when I do it, I guess, but 5.05 plus 12.3 minus 2.8, and that will give you 14.55. They ask you to round to the tenths. We look to the right. It's 5 or greater, so we would round up. 14.6. Okay? So again, whenever you can, pause and do it by yourself, and then check and see if your answer is there. Multiplication. Multiplication is regular. I don't know if that actually makes sense when it says like regular. Maybe I said that wrong. We multiply just like we regularly do, okay? We count the numbers of the decimal places. We move the decimal where it should be, okay? So for example, 1.2, we multiply that by 0.5, okay? So we do 5 times 2. That gives us 10. And then 5 times 1 gives us 5, plus what we carried gives us 6. Okay? And then 0, obviously we don't need to multiply those because that would just be 0 and 0. Okay? But then it says, since we have 2 total decimal places, here's 1 and here's 2, we start here and we move over twice. So our answer would be 0.60 or 0.6. Okay? It says round to the tenths. So, well, I guess since it's already in tenths, then we wouldn't need to change anything. Oops. So that would be 0.6. All right, next one we can do the same sort of thing. 0.25. Multiply that by 0.04. So we got 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 2 is 8. Plus 2 is 10. And 4 times 0 is 0, plus what we carried is 1. So that's 1.00. Or no, sorry, I missed that part. Okay, so since we have 2 decimal points and 2 decimal places, that gives us a total of 4 total. So we come here and we move over 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we just put a 0 in there. So that would give us 0.01. It says round to the thousandths. Well, it still gives us the same thing. So, okay, same thing. This time I'm just going to do it on my calculator. You're welcome to do it with a calculator. I think I told you in class we're doing it by hand, but we're just going to do it on our calculators. Okay, but it's good to know how to do it without. So 0.05 times 1.3, and that gives us 0.065. It says round to the hundredths, so here's the hundredths place. Look to the right. Since it's 5 or larger, we'll round up. So 0.07. Okay, next one, we have 1.22 times 2.7. That gives us 3.2 294. It says round to the whole number, so this is the whole number, look to the right, it's less than 1, or less than 5, so we would leave it as 3. Okay? Decimal, or division. Okay, so again, I'm okay if you use your calculator, but it is nice to be able to do or know how to do this by hand. Okay, so you set it up the same way you would with, say, for example, for long division. Okay, so say you have 225 divided by 5. Okay, well, we would set that up like this, and then we would divide. How many times does 5 go into 2? It doesn't go evenly, so we'll go to the next. How many times does 5 go into 22? Well, it goes in 4 times. So 4 times 5 is 20. We subtract, that gives us 2. Carry down the 5. How many times does 5 go into 25? That would be 5. And that gives us with a remainder of 0. Okay, so we'll do the exact same thing. The only thing is there's a little trick with the decimals. So for example, we'll write down, this is called the divisor. This is the dividend, okay? And your answer is your quotient. And I kind of wrote that over here. So this would be, we would put, this is your divisor, this would be your dividend, and our answer would be our quotient, okay? So let's look at this. Would do 0.03 square root of 4.5, okay? And the trick is that whenever we look at our divisor, which is 0.03, and we're going to, let me change my color, we move it over so that we make it be just a plain whole number 3. But if we do that, we need to move it this way as well. So we move that decimal over. So what we're doing now is 3 square root of 450. Okay, and you'll get the same answer, and it makes it a lot more easier. So how many times does 3 go into 4? It'd be 1. Carry down the 5. How many times does 3 go into 15? It'd be 5. Carry down the 0. Okay, and you would just get 0. Okay, and that's where our decimal will be as well. So it goes in 150 times. That would be our quotient. Okay, so this is our dividend, our divisor. Sorry, I got that backwards. This is our divisor, dividend, and our quotient. Okay, this would be our answer, 150. Okay, and then it says round to the nearest hundredths. So we'd look at our 100, look to the right. Since it's 5 or greater, we round up to 200. Okay, so that is how you do it, can do it. Like I said, I'm going to have you do it on the calculator. So for example, B, we just plug in 12.24 divided by 0.004. So plug it in just how it shows, and that will go in 3060, or 3060, yep. Okay, and then we look and says round to the nearest hundredths. So we look at the hundredths place, look to the right, that's the tenths place, it's greater than 5, so we round up, 3100. Okay, I'm going to do this one. I'm going to do this by hand, but again, you can do it on a calculator. Okay, so we'll move this decimal over 1. We'll move this decimal over 1. So it would be 4 divided by 48.4. How many times does 4 go into 4? once. Bring down the 8. How many times does 4 go into 8? 2. Because 2 times 4 is 8. That gives us 0. Bring down the 4. And that goes in 1 time. So keep that decimal, bring that straight up, and that's what we would get, okay? And then here again for D, I'm just going to do it on my calculator, 39.3 divided by 3.0, and that would give us 13.1, round to the 10th place. We look to the, or sorry, that's the ones place. Our 10th place. Look to the right, it's less than 5, so we leave it as 10. Okay? All right, and that's everything for today. If you have any questions, let me know. Again, you can just use your calculator if you'd like. Just make sure you know how to round, how it asks. Okay? See you later.